Welcome to this another tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to discuss about PHP functions. So we are going to define what a function is. We are going also to discuss how to pass parameters in a function, how to create a function, and also we'll be able to look at how to return values in a function. So functions are very important in every programming language because functions are meant to make work easier. So you realize that you want to repeat some kind of actions in your program, and therefore if you write the program every time now and then, it makes your program so long, and also it takes more of your computer resources when processing. Now when you employ this particular knowledge of functions in your program, it makes your program more readable, it makes your program easier to process, and it also makes things a little bit efficient in terms of program execution, in the aspect of computer resources. Now this is a very important area that each and every programmer should be able to know. Now when you talk about a function basically is a piece of code that is used over and over again in a program. Therefore we have explained that reusability nature of a function makes it suitable for every programming language. Now a function takes one or more inputs. Now in functions we don't talk of inputs, we talk of parameters or arguments. So this is what you are going to pass in your function, just to tell us what exactly you want to do, and what are some of the parameters that you need, and does some operation to them. Now when you talk about a function, again, a function requires you to have a return type, a return value after it is done processing. What is expected, after you have run it, what is expected of you. Now when you talk about creating a function basically you need to start with the keyword called function. Then you follow it with the function name and then the parentheses. After that, place your code in between the curly bracket, and then opening curly bracket and closing curly bracket. So you can just give it a trial. For example, I just want to write a very simple function, so you just write the keyword function. Function is supposed to be small letters like that, function, and then you can just say new message. So that is the name of the function, and then you can just say that echo hello team. So if I write like that and I just put the semicolon in front there, remember this is underlined because there is a problem on this particular statement here. So you can see it is working correctly. And then after you have done that, I think there is a problem here. This one is supposed to be opening and closing parentheses, so like that. Then after you have done that, that is what we call function definition. After you have done function definition, outside the function you are supposed to call that function. And how do you call it? By just giving me the name of that function there and put there the semicolon ahead. You save this, and then you go to your browser and then you refresh, and then you'll be able to see hello team appear on your browser. So this implies you have been able to create the function. You have used the keyword function followed by the name that has been given to that function, and then you need to have the parentheses. These are the parentheses ahead here. Then after the parentheses you're supposed to put the curly bracket, opening and closing curly bracket. Then you're supposed to put all the statements that are supposed to be used in that particular function in there, and then after that you need to call that function so that you can be able to see the output that is going to be displayed. Now talking of function again, function requires what you call parameters. So parameters, it is just the information that is passed to the function so that the operation are done. So this is exactly what is needed so that that particular function can work properly. Now we call them parameters, and is placed in the parentheses. You can add multiple parameters, so you can use as many parameters as possible. You can have one or more. So in this particular case, you need just to separate those parameters using the commas. So if you have num1, you put a comma, num2, you put a comma, num3, you put a comma. So that's what we are saying, that a function can have multiple parameters. Yeah, so that's very important. Now in this particular case, for example, I can show you what it means by multiple parameters. I can have this function. Maybe I can just create a function, a simple function called subtract function. So I can just have the name subtract function as the name of this particular function, and then I want to pass parameters. I want to pass the following parameters. I pass num1, and then I can also pass the second parameter is num2, and then you put the opening curly bracket and the closing curly bracket. What have I done in this case? I've passed these two arguments. We have num1 and num2. Now you need to define what this particular function is going to do, and this function is going to subtract num2 from num1. So you're going to write, for example, you can say sum, or you can just say difference. Okay, you can say difference, and then you can just say num1 minus $num2. Okay, so after you have done that, basically you are trying to tell us that I'm subtracting subtracting num2 from num1. Then after doing that, you just echo. Maybe you can decide to echo now. Echo, and then just say that the difference is, and then you put the full colon there. You go out of the double quotation marks. Make sure you have the dot for concatenation, and then you can as well be able to add difference there. Yeah. So if you do that and then you save, you should be able to get the output that is required. Remember, this is a $sign. It needs a $sign in front here, like that. You can see it is working correctly. So one thing, after you have done the definition, the next thing to do is the function call. And the function call in this case, we are going to say sub function, and then in there we are going to pass the parameters as 20 and 15. Those are the parameters we want to use in this case, like that. Then you save this, you run this, bingo, there you have it. It is going to give you 5. The difference is, and then it gives you 5. This means that our function is working correctly. Yeah, it's working correctly. Good. Now we go to the next one, is that every time you talk parameters again, a parameter is it requires you to have what you call the return value. So a return value basically is the return value that comes out after the function definition is done. What do you expect after this particular function has been executed? What is the results that you expect? So that's what we call the return type, the return value. Yeah. Now, for example, we can just try an example here over this, or on this particular function that we just created in some few minutes ago. In this particular one, we want to have the return. Yeah. So you just basically what you need to do every time you want to have a return in your function, you just need to start with the keyword return. Then you need to be followed by the value that need to be returned. The value that need to be returned. So what you need to do is just put the $sign, and then you write there div, for example. Yeah. So that is the value that needs to be executed. Yeah. Now after doing that, when you go to our function call, outside here, you are supposed to indicate. Yeah. So you can just say that, for example, I can create a new variable. Called maybe I can just say subtract. Yeah. So that is the name of the variable where I'm going to assign the new value after I've done the I've done the subtraction. So in this case, I'm just going to use the word, remember it is the function name. I'm going to call this function, so I'm going to use the word sub function, and into bracket I can now put the function name, the arguments in there. So I can just say 20 and 10. Those are the arguments that I'm going to pass in this case. After doing that, you want to echo. You can just echo this statement by saying that the difference is okay. Then after doing that, you just need to have the function call. Remember it is concatenation, so you need to put a dot there for concatenation, and then after doing that, you just need to call that particular variable called subtract. Yeah, so like that. So what have I done in this case? I've been able to pass the argument. After passing the argument, I've been able to assign the new results to this particular variable called diff. Then you return diff. Yeah, after you have done the assigning, you return it. Yeah, you need to return the value. Now outside here, what you are doing, we are going to apply the function call on sub function, and we are passing new parameters here. We are saying 20 and 10, and then the new value that you have gotten, we are going to assign it to subtract. Then we can just say that the difference is, and then we call that particular variable that has been listed in this particular case. Yeah. Now, if I execute this, I just save this and then I try to execute it, you should be able to see the difference is 10. So the value has been able to change. Okay, so the return type is working, the return value is correct, and therefore everything is intact, and therefore you can be able to get the response as the difference is 10, which is very true. 20 minus 10, that is 10. Very good. So that is it. So that is how you can be able to return a value in your function. Yeah. So the last thing that I want us to discuss is the aspect of default values for parameters. So in case a function that needs parameter is called without any parameter, we can specify a default value for the parameter instead. So in case you realize that the user has not been able to put in the arguments, we can as well be able to execute the default value. Yeah, so like this is what I'm talking about in this particular case. What you're going to do, that we want to create a very simple function that prints the name of a person. So we are going to say that function print name. So that is the name of the function, and therefore I'm passing the value there, just saying name is equal to maybe you can say Jack. That is the name of that particular person. Then after doing that, the next thing to do is just to create the curly brackets, and then in there we can just say echo my name is, and then we can just prove it. I can do just to, okay, we can just my name is, and then we can just be able to call that function, that particular variable called name, and then we can have the BR here, so that we jump to the next line to see how the response is going to be. Then you put the the semicolon ahead, and then we can be able now to call the function down here. So we are going to call the function print name, and then we leave it blank. We just leave it blank, and then we see what will be the output. And then you can have the second one. As print name, and then we are going to pass the value that we want it to be displayed, Julie. Yeah, I'm going to use the word Julie here. Then after doing that, you go to the last one, print name, and then in there we are going to use the word gems. Yeah. Okay, so after you have done that, you have done the function definition, you have done the function call, and then this is the what we call passing of the default value, because yeah, this one is going to pass the default value, which is the name. Yeah, which is the name. So in this case, this one is going to give us that output called Jack, then this one is going to give us Julie, then this one is going to give us James. So if I save this and then I just refresh my page, you should be able to see those output. You can see my name is Jack as the first statement. Why? Because this is a default statement, because this is a default value, so it is going to pass this value that has been indicated in the argument section. Yeah, so that is how you can be able to use functions. We have talked about how to create the function, how to pass values in the function, how to return a value in the function, how to return a default value in the function. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel to support me. When I create the next video, turn the notification button on so that you will be informed. Bye bye for now.